Welcome back, pregame.tv. I am merely Steve Fezzik, but it's my pleasure today to introduce special guest star Aaron Kessler, Golden Nugget supervisor. We're going to be discussing Golden Nugget games of the year. Aaron, how many hours you spent on this?
A lot of them. I would say 70 to 150.
Excellent, excellent. And of course, you're working with Tony Miller, the crack staff over there, and you're putting it all together. And Friday is the day that you're going to go ahead and put these up for wagering, right?
Friday is when the magic happens, sometime in the early afternoon.
Is it going to be exactly 1 p.m. or that's what you're shooting for?
I haven't been informed of that decision yet, but I think it'll be sometime around 1.
And this has become kind of an annual tradition. Why don't you let the listeners, the viewers know when you got involved with this, how long it's been going, and how the volume of games has increased?
This is our 8th year doing these, and I've been in from the very start. First year we did, I believe, 28 games, and last year was our highest. We had 250 last year. Now we're back down to 200, scaled it back a bit.
Scaled it back to 200. So let me ask you, when you go up to 200, now the advantage is that you get more volume across the board on all these games. So you don't, if you look at your end of year results, you're not like contingent upon, oh, you lose these 2 or 3 games, you might win or lose. But if you get a team wrong, they might come in and pop you on every one of their games. That's the concern, right?
Exactly, and that was what happened to us last year. We had a rough year last year. As you know, being a Northwestern graduate, they were racked with injuries last year, and we were extremely high on Northwestern, and that really hurt our entire season. In addition, I took a positioning on Mississippi that wasn't quite as strong as I thought. It wasn't a disaster, but it could have been better.
Would it be fair to say if you could just have taken the Northwestern games out of your portfolio, you would have had a fine year?
Yes.
It really just came down to one team.
And the worst part about it being Northwestern and going down the way it did, you like to be able to go back and say, oh, this is where I went wrong. Maybe we can improve on this next year. There's nothing we can do about a team like Northwestern, where everybody is hurt week after week after week, because we'll never know if we were right on the team or not.
And even the Ohio State game, when they donked off the game, you know, after having covered the entire game, it's just crazy with what happened. Let me ask, I know what you used to do. Let me ask if you're going to continue this model, is that you'd come in, you'd set the number, someone would bet it, you'd move maybe a point, point and a half, depending if it was a key number or not. Have you rethought that this year? Might you be moving more aggressively, or are you more confident in your numbers this year?
I think we're going to stick with what we've got. It's done pretty well for us so far. You know, we've had a lot of success with these in the past.
If someone takes, for instance, like a plus 19, you might move it down to 18. Someone comes in and takes plus 3.5, you just move it to 3 probably, right?
Possibly. We might try and go to 2.5. You know, there's all sorts of things. It depends on the game. It depends how strong our position is on a certain team, how strongly we feel about that team, and if we think that someone's going to come back and try and overload that game on us.
Let's talk about overloading a team. Let's say the first person in line comes up, gets 3 bets on Florida State all 3 games. The second guy in line bets on Florida State on 2 of the 3 games. Now in the back, do you immediately start to think maybe we should move all of our lines on Florida State, or do you stay pat with the games that haven't been hit yet?
Again, it depends on how we feel about a certain team. Like I was saying last year with Northwestern, that's exactly what happened, and we knew it was going to happen. We planned for it to happen. So we felt okay about it when the money against Northwestern started pouring in. And it's happened many times in the past.
Now, as far as a goal, if I was the race and sportsbook director, I don't want to take your job or Tony's job, but I would just try to roughly break even, get all the media attention, everyone coming in talking about the Golden Nugget. I'm curious if that is indeed your goal, or is your goal, let's make some money from this and get that attention?
Now, of course we love to make money, but we're not looking at the games of the year as a profit center. You know, if we win $5, that's a successful win.
Right, because obviously you're doing so much traffic, and you don't get to measure also all the money that's being bet. Maybe not so much on the World Cup. I don't know if there's such a correlation between the football and the soccer ball, but people certainly betting baseball and other things while they're at your book, right?
Absolutely, and you know, we like getting people downtown. It's a great place to be. It's a great place to come bet. We like to take action. So if you're going to come down and bet these games, you might as well see what else we have too.
Absolutely. And one thing, sometimes downtown gets so crowded, and I'll pull up, you've got 2 valets, and I'll always pull up, and they say it's all full only for hotel guests, but $10 will find you a spot in the valet.
Isn't it funny how that works? Such a small piece of paper clearing out a big car out of a spot.
It's, it's funny about that is that I learned the hard way $20 was too much, because I did that a couple times, and the valet guys were, oh, thanks a lot. Yes, absolutely. And I realized 10 will find you a spot. You want to talk about, now we can't talk, you don't have spreads up yet. You do have the sheets. People can come on by. They can pick up the big sheets right now, correct?
We don't have them run. We don't have the schedule run. Mm-hmm. But I've heard there are places where you can find it.
Oh, okay. So just surf around the internet and type up Golden Nugget Games of the Year. And when do you know when you have sheets available? Maybe the day before?
We will have sheets the day of.
The day of, you'll go ahead and have them. You want to talk about some of the games? We can't talk about spreads. Maybe I haven't done anything. So maybe I'll guess on a couple games.
All right, sounds good.
What the lines might be. Want to do that?
Now you have to remember, if you guess, I can't tell you if you're right or wrong because I don't have the numbers yet myself. I'm still working.
I like that. We're not going to hold you to this. It's not a conspiracy. You're not going to go zig one way, zag the other. Let's go opening weekend. Johnny Football is gone for Texas A&M, as is their stud wide receiver. South Carolina, they're the same every year, borderline top 10. They get into the top 10, then they let everybody down. My first thoughts were South Carolina laying about 6.
I think you're just a touch low. I've got A&M projected down. They lose not just Manziel, they also lose Mike Evans. They lose their stud tackle, Matthews. And they got to all go and get that money in the NFL. Mm-hmm. You know, South Carolina also had a big loss with Clowney. And
sure.
Most people forget they lost their All-American lineman on the defensive side of the ball, who was not Clowney. It's Kelsey Quarles. So they've got some losses. I make South Carolina in the vicinity of a touchdown.
Very good. Boise State, Ole Miss, these are always great games where you know there's a right side. You're just not really sure. And I know that there was a stat that Boise, in any game, when they're getting more than 3, that they're great against the spread. We talked about this game before we went on air. I threw out 3.5. You had this look in your eye like, oh, Fezzik might want to sharpen his pencil on the Boise State number, right?
My offer to book that wager stands.
Very good. So maybe Boise might be a little bit more down than we anticipate, right?
You know, Boise reached their peak, I think, in the Fiesta Bowl against Oklahoma. And ever since then, they've been slowly getting a little bit weaker and weaker every year.
Speaking of getting weaker, our own hometown Rebels are on academic review. My goodness, you would think if ever there was a school you could maintain a B or C average, it would be UNLV, but not the case. Lost some scholarships, not bowl eligible. They go to Arizona. Right off the top of my head, I said 28 Arizona.
I think that's a little bit high. Arizona's got some adjustments to make. And I think the Rebels are going to be a little bit more competitive than people think this year. But again, I don't think it's totally off base.
Mm-hmm. Let's jump ahead here. Saturday, September 20th. There's so many to choose from. Right. Clemson, Dabo Swinney wins 10 games a year. Amazing the last 3 years. Obviously, he loses his stud wide receiver. He loses his stud quarterback. Florida State, they don't have any problem reloading no matter who goes in the draft. Florida State's going to kill them. Florida State minus 12?
I think that's pretty close, actually. I don't think you're far off on that game. You have to make them a double-digit favorite, I believe.
I think one of my favorite things is to go to, go downtown, get a crab leg special, and watch Florida State rolling along. So let's go ahead and continue. Apologies to Jameis Winston. The Red River rivalry. Yeah. Apologies to the NRA folks. Rivalry. Texas, Oklahoma. This game. Historically, always lying close. I would think, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that it is Oklahoma that's loaded this year and Texas in trouble. Oklahoma minus 3?
I've got Oklahoma favored by more than that. Not so much because I believe in them, but it seems the public really believes in Oklahoma this year. They're getting top 5 ratings on all of these preseason magazines, and I think people are buying into the Oklahoma hype. So you can bet them here, but you're going to have to pay a little. Boy,
the Pac-12 has really gone up, and the Big 12 has really gone down, haven't they, in recent years?
Yeah, and I think it's going to continue that way.
Well, would you want to go to school with Arizona State co-eds or Oklahoma co-eds?
Nothing like a Texas girl.
That's true. That is true. Let's jump ahead. Alabama, LSU. Remember, everyone wants to see them play another 21-3 game. The game is in Death Valley here. Unclear, really, who's going to be favored in this one. Probably pretty close to pick 'em, right?
If you've got some change in your pocket, I'll let you pick it right now. It's going to be a real tight game. I think I'm a little higher on LSU than most this year, but they seem to be a strong team. And I haven't been sold on their quarterback play the last couple of years, so I'm not sure Mettenberger is going to be a huge loss.
You know, without both quarterbacks, maybe we go under. Even when they were there, we were looking under in those games.
Exactly.
So many to choose from. Let's hit a few more here. This is fun.
No problem.
Probably the most difficult game, at least in terms of a point spread perspective, for Florida State at Florida. This is Saturday, November 29th. Florida State minus. Boy, Florida had all those injuries, but still, they're Florida. -6.
I think you're low. I'm not sure how low you are, but I do think you're low on that. Florida State is a team you're going to pay a premium for all year. And Florida is a team that you're going to be able to bet against. And if you want to take the points with Florida, you'll be able to get a whole bunch of points at a lot of points this season.
Boy, they really went downhill. It seems to me the last couple of times Florida played like a bottom-tier Division I team, they struggled. They're up like 3 at the end of the first half the last few years, right?
And then capped it off against Georgia Southern.
Yeah, they cannot. They can't score. They just can't score. They're like the San Diego Padres of Major League Baseball. So.
Can I get an apologies to the Padres, please? No.
I know. Hey, I know the stadium's big. I know there's a marine layer. You can still hit more than 212. Auburn, Alabama. Let's go all the way to November 29th. Alabama -6.
It might get there, but I don't think we started there. People are very high on Auburn. They saw what this team did last year. Gus Malzahn is the best coach in college football, and he's just reloading. Not a lot of losses. Bama's going to be angry, though, and it's very tough to go into their house and win. Very
good. My producer's giving me suggestions to go ahead and mention. And little does he know, I don't know enough to follow up on the suggestions. Army, Navy. Let's do a little. Every year, Navy opens -7, and they always kill Army. So I'm going to make it 10.
10's not far off. 10 might be low. My power rating on Navy this year was far higher than a power rating on Navy should be. So I'm going off the cuff on this and disrespecting my power numbers a little.
Let me ask you, in terms of the volume you get on these, do you get, when all is said and done at the end of the summer, an LSU Alabama game, would you get triple the volume on that as you would, say, a Purdue Northwestern game?
Yeah, if we were going to book Purdue Northwestern, it would be 20 times the volume.
20, literally, you might not take. Will you take a bet on every one of these games?
No.
Okay, so some of them are.
We'll take a bet on the vast majority of them. I'd say probably 20 or 30 games won't get touched.
I see, and you'll have, would the average amount maybe be 3 limit bets? You might get 3,000 on a typical average game.
It's hard to say. You know, a lot of games will take that kind of action. Some will take more. A lot will take less.
What percentage of your bets, day one, are limit bets?
90.
90%. So if someone has an opinion, they're going to back it with the full $1,000, and you're going with a $1,000 limit, right?
That's why we're here.
What about come the middle of August when all the numbers have settled in?
You don't see a lot of action then.
You might get the tourists that come in, and they might bet the $20 and the $50.
That's when you start to see the slower action. A lot of the guys who are pros are taking these numbers early. If there's an injury, they'll try and take advantage.
Let me ask you: are you going to keep these lines up all summer long and then pull them back down week 1, or are you going to look to put some of them back up?
We're going to pull them down when the season starts.
One more, yeah. We don't have. I don't know where it is on the schedule, but the battle here locally between UNLV and Reno, where Reno's always sky high and UNLV isn't. Any idea what the spread would be on that one?
Yeah, Reno's not sky high. I can tell you that one is most likely going to be within a touchdown and almost certainly single digits.
Okay, I keep in my mind, I keep seeing Colin Kaepernick running for yet another touchdown against our UNLV Rebels. Well, this is fun. We're real excited. Can I ask, any chance we could have you back at the end of the month and talk about how it went, you know, in terms of what teams people wound up betting early on?
It's quite possible. I'm sure that either Tony or myself will make it by to talk about this.
Outstanding. So I'm going to make this a best bet just in terms of experiences, if I can, for the Golden Nugget on Friday.
Sounds good.
All right, Golden Nugget Games of the Year is Fezzik's best bet here. Even if you're not prepared yet, you don't have your homework done, you know what? It's just a good time. Come by Friday afternoon, pick up a sheet, see what the spreads are, see what your favorite team is. You can kind of project how the national title contenders are going to do. You can look and find their most difficult games of the year and what the point spreads are and see how likely it is that they'll wind up going 11-1 or 12-0. And it really is a fun time. You get to see a who's who in the industry as far as who shows up, and go ahead, and you won't be able to talk to Aaron or Tony because they'll be so busy initially, but after all the dust finally settles, you guys will probably be available then, right?
Most likely.
Excellent. So thanks again for coming into studio, and we're going to talk a little Major League Baseball here while you're here, right?
Sounds good.
Very good. A Major League Baseball report, and we're going to be talking to Golden Nugget here, Aaron Kessler, about the steam and how it keeps winning and how aggravating it must be for a bookmaker. I'm just guessing. Stay with us. Pregame.tv.